Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we're going to untangle the chaotic, all-consuming, and, let's be honest, completely exhausting experience of modern romance. But we're doing it through a really fascinating lens, the science of positive psychology. We'll be looking at everything from, those viral social media dating hacks, all the way to peer-reviewed academic frameworks. It's all about figuring out how to move from that gut-wrenching romantic anxiety to genuine, lasting well-being.
So, I want you to picture a scenario. We've all been there, right? You've just spent 2 whole hours overthinking a single text message, or maybe you're agonizing over an outfit for way too long just in case you happen to bump into your crush. And suddenly, poof, all your focus is just gone. So, why exactly does this happen? Well, evolutionary psychology actually suggests that this sudden, intense infatuation literally hijacks your brain's cognitive resources. Your brain is essentially shutting down its normal day-to-day operations to just hyper-focus on this new romantic interest. Crazy, right?
Here's our roadmap for This Explainer. We're going to cover the science of crushes, the modern dating obsession, the concept of the quiet ego, the roles of authenticity and simplicity, and finally, the path to flourishing.
All right, Section 1, the science of crushes and how infatuation just totally hijacks your brain.
Now, recent psychological studies have uncovered this fascinating gender divide in how we react to crushes. For women, having a crush actually often correlates with a pretty big dip in creative output and focus. Essentially, cognitive resources get redirected to internal processing, emotional sensitivity, and anxiety. But for men, a crush can actually act as a weird kind of performance boost, driven by these traditional evolutionary mating norms. Where men were historically the pursuers, a romantic interest can sometimes spike their motivation to perform and impress, which actually leads to greater focus. It is just a wildly different biological and social response to the exact same emotion.
Moving on to Section 2, the modern dating obsession and navigating the incredibly noisy world of modern romance.
Okay, if you've opened a social media app lately, you know it is just flooded with a massive volume of manipulative, totally ego-driven dating tactics. Creators are constantly pushing these psychological hacks meant to make someone literally obsessed with you. You've got stuff like Pavlovian anchoring, which is basically a touch-and-retreat method designed to trigger dopamine rushes, or the Benjamin Franklin effect, where you trick someone into liking you more by constantly asking them for tiny favors. Then there's the whole sunk cost fallacy trick, forcing someone to invest time and money into you so they feel like they can't walk away. It's just this endless, exhausting stream of mind games, fake detachment, and engineered jealousy.
And all of these viral tactics point straight to what psychologists call the noisy ego. This is an incredibly exhausting state of existence. It's a total hyper-focus on self-interest, manipulating other people for your own external validation, and essentially viewing others as just tools to fulfill your own needs. It's this cultural obsession with me, me, me. And the ultimate irony here, the more we play these noisy ego games to find a partner, the further away we drive ourselves from any actual genuine human connection.
Which brings us to Section 3. Enter the quiet ego, the antidote to the dating brain drain.
So, how do we escape this exhausting cycle of mind games and anxiety? Well, we can look to the quiet ego. Think of it as the ultimate antidote to toxic dating culture. Unlike that noisy ego, which is all about manipulation and being totally self-centered, the quiet ego is a state where your ego's volume is finally turned down. It shifts our focus toward a compassionate balance. It's a psychosocial identity that transcends selfish interests, allowing you to approach life and your relationships in a much more humane, considerate way.
Now, I want to be really clear about something. Quieting your ego absolutely does not mean becoming a pushover. It doesn't mean you have a weak or submissive personality at all. Actually, scratch that. It's quite the opposite. It requires a very strong, grounded sense of self. It simply means you're building an identity that embraces both your own needs and the needs of others. You're fostering a real sense of connection rather than desperately seeking control.
To actually pull this off, the quiet ego relies on 4 deeply interrelated qualities. First up, an inclusive identity. That's feeling connected to others and sharing a sense of common humanity. Second, perspective taking. The ability to step completely outside your own bubble and genuinely understand someone else's viewpoint. Third is detached awareness, being mindful and non-defensive right in the present moment. And finally, long-term growth, focusing on actual meaningful self-development rather than chasing that immediate short-term validation. Together, these 4 qualities beautifully harmonize our internal desires with the world around us.
All right, on to Section 4, authenticity and simplicity, the mediators of mental well-being.
So those 4 qualities build into what psychologists call the eudaimonic activity model, which is basically just a fancy way of describing a roadmap to sustainable, profound happiness.
It starts at step 1 with our core values, the quiet ego. That value system then motivates us in step 2 to live with authenticity. That motivation naturally leads to everyday practices in step 3, specifically voluntary simplicity. And finally, in step 4, those practices lead us to our ultimate goal, flourishing.
Let's look closer at those middle steps. Authenticity is this crucial mediator of congruence. It's what happens when your thoughts, feelings, and actions totally align, with zero mind games involved. Meanwhile, voluntary simplicity is all about prioritizing inner growth over external clutter. It's mindful consumption. Together, these two mediators work directly to counteract that toxic, exhausting dating culture we were talking about earlier. They are an absolute game changer.
And that leads us to Section 5, the path to flourishing in achieving the gold standard of well-being.
Positive psychologists consider flourishing to be the absolute gold standard of well-being. I mean, just look at these characteristics. High life satisfaction, incredibly positive mental and physical health, deeply meaningful social relationships, optimism, resilience, and actively contributing to society. This represents a state where you are functioning at your absolute best. You are entirely free from the exhaustion, the brain drain, and the anxiety of romantic manipulation. You aren't desperately trying to make someone obsessed with you anymore. You're just out there living a good, connected, truly meaningful life.
Look, crushes are undeniably fun, completely chaotic, and pretty much universally relatable. But, as this explainer hopefully demonstrates, there is a clear scientific reality here. The fleeting excitement of a crush, or that quick ego boost you get from winning a dating game, is just nothing compared to lasting joy. That deep, durable happiness, that comes from grounded, mindful simplicity. It comes from finally turning down the volume of your ego.
So what does this all mean for us? Well, the most crucial takeaway today is this. I want you to really reflect on your own habits, your own relationships, and your own dating life. Ask yourself honestly, is your noisy ego, that deep need for control, for external validation, and for all that game playing, actually keeping you from achieving true, authentic well-being? Something to think about.